At this time of the year, the football playoffs are in full swing, and as I'm thinking about teams getting to the championship game, it made me remember how financial planning is like football. That's going to be the topic of our conversation today on Friends Talk Financial Planning. Hi, I'm John Shear, and I run a fee-only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin.
And I'm Bridget Sullivan-Ramel, and I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. And, before we start talking football, please remember to subscribe. It helps us reach people with YouTube. So, John, I'm going to pass it off to you.
That's what, pass it off. I like that. Very nice handoff, Bridget. Hey, and of course, I assume that everybody thinks about financial planning when they're talking about football in the playoffs, right? So that's the way that my mind thinks. But it really is interesting, I think, as I think about, what goes on, what makes these championship teams as these teams get closer and closer to the title game. And, it's like you've got to be well balanced. If a team's just got defense, just got offense, those aren't the teams that are still playing at the end of the season typically. And it is just like financial planning is we can't just focus on one area, right? That's why you and I do what we do, this holistic view. You've got to have in football all three units, offense, defense, and special teams. In financial planning, you got to have offense and defense. I'm not sure about the special teams. Yeah, probably
sure.
some special teams in there. Yeah. But what does that mean? And just as a relationship to, sort of fundamental things in anything where there's outcomes, competition sort of thing. From an offensive standpoint, right, in football you need to be able to score points, put yards, get yards, put points on the board, right? What does that mean from a financial planning standpoint, though?
A lot of times that's more like stocks. Like, I need to invest. So, and that's kind of what a lot of people feel like is the most fun. And actually, watching your money grow that's kind of fun. Yeah. I think it's fun for a lot of people. You look at it and then you look at it again and it's up. That's fun. Right. And even if it's not up every time, it's kind of like a roller coaster and, hopefully you'll get some ups, right? And it's kind of fun and it's
And you think about in football, right? You expect the offense to move the ball, but sometimes they go backwards, right? That's part of, but the expectation is, hey, we're going to go down and marching forward down the field. We expect our net worth to go up and our investments to go up. Doesn't always happen, right? There are some setbacks on those things. Sort of a similar process of this is what it is, and it is the exciting things, right? And so often I find in financial planning that people focus on that offense. How do I get more investment return in those things? Again, important. We got to score points if we're on the football field. But then there's also some things that go with it on the other side, right, that are just as important. I think it's more evident in football anyway than it is in financial planning. And you and I might think a little bit differently. If offense sounds fun to you, I think defense is fun, getting to, tackle people and do those sorts of things. Really clear in football, right? If you let the other team march up and down the field, that's sort of the expectations. How can we stop them? Not like we're taking the offensive, but how do we protect things? A little bit less self-evident, I think, when it comes to financial planning, but we still need to have the defense, right?
Absolutely. So you want to make sure you have a diversified portfolio so that you're not just invested in stocks, but that you have some bonds and interest earning. And you also want to, I think maybe we should look at like insurance and estates as special teams, okay? But so let's take a diversified portfolio as our defense. So the investments now, sometimes the defense scores. Yep. So there's an interception or a safety.
Yep.
So, for instance, right now, interest rates have gone up, and I-bonds are making a lot of money. Right. And so actually, the defense is scoring more than the offense for this short period of time. And so it's similar to sometimes defense wins games, literally, in football.
Well, a great defense that's corollary to that, I've been thinking about it over the last year, is, there's cash in the bank, right? Earning more interest is one thing, but cash sitting in the bank, even, before the interest rates started going up, not earning very much interest, not a lot of offense, right? Not very sexy with that. And boy, that's not a great place to have money, right? Well, wait a minute. When everything is going down, right? Stocks are going down, bonds weren't doing very well last year either. Holding that defense at zero, holding that cash, that can be a really good thing. It's scoring points by not losing, right? There's a place for that. We don't often think about that when we're looking at that that scoring points, right? I know that defense is a really important part of things,
right? And I think the special teams are interesting, and I was listening to a podcast recently about how the typically the average point difference in the NFL is something like 3 points. And so teams have invested more in special teams so that the kicker, the whole focus of this episode was that the person who catches the ball and places it, that's like a specific person.
Yeah, right.
And there's specialists in that one position. And they're not poorly paid. Yeah. You know, they're not the highest paid in the team.
And they don't get hit very often either. That sounds like a pretty good job.
Well, that's changed over the course of the last 20 years.
Right.
So how much they get hit. But it's similar to, say, an insurance agent, specifically like life insurance agents. So recently, through some reasons, like specific things that are happening in my firm, I've needed to get some life insurance. And so that's kind of a special teams thing. And so I had to call in special people to give me actual, different advice on that than, because I'm an older person and I'm getting life insurance. And so that's a special teams type of situation. And those special teams can actually help you win the game.
Yeah, it's interesting, as if you're a Packers fan, like everybody should be, their special teams this year has made a big leap, and it's made a huge difference. And you think about what that means, really. And I don't know, there's some statistic, I'm sure, but I would guess 80 or 90% of plays our teams are either on offense or defense, right? It's like 5 or 10% of the time are special teams plays, kicks and those sorts of things. But, hugely important, right? Think about the insurance example you talked about: life insurance, homeowners insurance, car, those sorts of things. Most of the time you don't need that, right? 90%, 99% of what happens in life does not involve those things. But when it comes into play, it's a huge deal and can really be a game saver, right? Both from the football and from a financial planning standpoint on things.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, it's interesting as I think about this metaphor and just how some of the fundamentals of life apply in financial planning and things like football. When one of the sort of phrases or things that I remember from my days of being in sports is that good teams can win even when they're not playing well. And I think about that from the financial planning standpoint, that when stocks are going up and nothing's going on, and interest rates are real, like anybody, you throw a dart at the dart, anybody can make money. It's all really good, right? When it's going well, everything's going well. It's easy. Bad teams can win when things are going in their direction. But what good teams do is when things don't go so well, right? When you don't get the bounces and you're not quite on your A game and you're not playing very well, the good teams are ones that find ways to win and squeak out those wins that they may otherwise not do. Same thing, I think, with financial planning. When things are going well, it's easy. It's what happens when we have years like last year, right? In 2022 in the stock market, when things are down. What happens when inflation kicks in? Like when things are going well, you don't need to have an awesome plan and things are all going to go kind of well. Right. It's when things don't go well, can you be a winner in your financial planning when things don't go the way that you expect them to go and the way that they go most of the time, right? Like, usually we get the breaks don't all fall against us. When it does that, are you positioned to be in a position to win, right?
Right. It reminds me of the quote ascribed to Warren Buffett that when the tide goes down, the people who are swimming naked are revealed. Right. Like that's who's at the beach. And so in years like last year, that's when you see like, who's taking more risk than they should be. So sometimes like the people that are staying up at night, like worried about the stock market. Well, if that's you maybe you're taking more risk than you really need to be. Yeah. Or that you're really comfortable with. That's a sign. So that's one of the things that we talk with people about. Like, how are you sleeping at night?
Yep. And, it just made me think as you're describing that, I say, hey, win games when you're not doing well. The other thing is win the games you're supposed to win, right? We can, are you doing the things you're supposed to do, the low-hanging fruit? Are you not getting into credit card debt, right? Are you saving money into your retirement plans? Do you have an emergency fund, right? Those easy wins, if you don't get the easy wins, right? You got to be able to win when you're not playing well, when things go bad. But you also got to do the easy things too, right? And if you can do those things, they both correlate on that.
And I don't know about you, but I play tennis. And sometimes I'm facing someone who's clearly better than me.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh? And then but the thing is that then you scratch your head and you figure out, okay, they're better than me, but sometimes the better person doesn't win.
Yeah.
I got to figure this out. So, like even when you're facing a challenging situation, you can still pull it out. You can still win.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's great. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap things up here. And, as you think about and watch the football playoffs, think about how that relates, right? Watch your teams and think about what that means in your financial planning and how you can correlate those things and have a well-set financial plan for the new year here. And so I'm John Shear. I run a fee-only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin.
And I'm Bridget Sullivan-Mermel, and I run a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. We're both members of ACP, or the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners. We're both taking clients in our practices, but if you would like a planner in your area, you can check out acplanners.org for a group of planners that think a lot like us.
That's right. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.